To everybody who's already on the call, welcome to Microsoft Fabric User Group Denmark. Today we have the great honor of having a fantastic session on process mining with Power Automate with Julia. Now, I want to let all of you know that this session will be recorded and it will also be made available on LinkedIn on our LinkedIn group. So if you want to see it again later on, please follow along on our LinkedIn group. Now, because of course we're being recorded and because we appreciate Julia, make sure that you are respectful, polite, and kind in your questions and how you interact. If you have questions during the session, please write in the chat and let us know, and we will take it as soon as possible. Now, we are also working on improving all the time, so please answer the feedback mail from Meetup. We always want to be better and we always want to learn, so we really appreciate your feedback. And then I want to welcome Julia Kupke, and Julia is very, very knowledgeable about process mining. She works as a process consultant with Develop AG, and they are a leading software company for document management systems and platform provider in the DACH region. So in this role, she's actually responsible for the operational excellence of the internal teams and manages company-wide projects and support departments in achieving their strategic goals and objectives. To measure the efficiency of process performance, she applies process mining. Now, further, she's currently doing her PhD in business at the Chair of Technology and Operations Management at the University of Barcelona. So a warm welcome to Julia. I don't know how you get to do it all, but it's quite impressive.
Thank you so much, Emily, for the kind introduction. That's very kind. And I'm happy to be here. Welcome, everyone. I would like to share some slides with you. So I let you know a little bit more about process mining, and then we can dive into a live demo, which I'm gladly sharing with you. So let me share my screen in a second. You should be able to see my screen now, right? Perfect. Okay, I saw your thumb.
Looks great.
Thank you so much. So today's presentation is about the improvement of invoice processing. I've chosen this process as it is a process every company has, I believe. So I think it's very useful to look into this because it's applicable for many industries, actually for all industries, I think, for many companies. So we want to dive into the capabilities of process mining technology and its benefits. And as you already said, Emily, thank you for that. I'm a PhD student currently, doing a PhD in business at the Chair of Technology and Operations Management, studying process mining. And work-wise, I work as a process consultant, also using process mining. So first of all, I would like to talk to you about why process mining. Why should we use this technology? I brought you a picture which shows a typical example actually from the UX design, where you can see basically that there was made a design how it should be used, but then in the end we could very much see how it's actually used by the users. And in this example you see very well, I think, how different this can be. But then on the other hand, I think in digital processes it's not that obvious, because here you can see it on your first hand side, but then in digital processes it's not that transparent. So what process mining really does is to extract real data from processes and hereby can identify how processes actually work, visualize bottlenecks, and show where the greatest optimization layers lie. To give you a kind of overview where process mining is within the process mining analysis, of course it's not a quite new topic because there are different ways of analyzing processes like data analysis or process recording. I think all of you know, like the workshops we all do in groups where you do some expert interviews and get everyone to the table. But this is obviously something which is very slow, and also sometimes it's not very detailed. Then we have also analysis of documents where you can search in process libraries, but also here the depth of analysis is very limited. So on the right top, you find process mining, which gives you full transparency on processes as they are. Then it gives you the real-time evaluation, and it gives you a site-specific evaluation. So this is from the university in Münster, and I think it gives you kind of an idea where process mining is in the area of process analysis. Here I brought you something from Gartner to kind of display how it really goes. So here, this is something, I think, a situation everyone knows. People work in their workplace on the computer, typing in different systems. These systems can be a CRM system, ERP system, and within this, data is created and it's saved in logs. Usually the invoices you see here, it's in an ERP system and then saved in logs. So mostly we work with SAP or Microsoft Navision, of course. So there are different kinds of systems where it can be logged. And then for process mining, you always have to have 3 kind of attributes. So you have the case ID, which is a unique number to a case. And it has different numbers, and it comes down to one invoice, basically. Then you have the timestamp. So you want to know when something happened, and then you want to know what happened exactly, so the activity. So in this example, you see this is one case ID happening at 2 different times because there were 2 different activities in the workflow. And then in the end, based on those event logs, you will have a process model, which we will go into later, but here you can see already extracted from the data we have, it displays a visualized model. So how does it work? Basically, you have 3 steps when doing process mining. The very first one is the discovery phase. So based on the event logs we just talked about, you will see the process as it is. So the real process with all its deviations and different ways it can go on the basis of those event logs, and it will be visualized in the model. Secondly, you will have the conformance check. So if you first have this discovery, which we want to look at today, you also want to know what's the to-be process. So what is actually the process we want to look at, we want to have in the company. So you can compare this in terms of process improvement. You can identify a happy path and then do some benchmarking. So you have KPIs and you compare them to each other. And then you can always see as is process versus to be process. And in the end, you always want to enhance those processes, because you will find particular items where you think, oh, well, we could do better here or better there. And for this, process mining doesn't have to be seen as a single project, but as a tool for continuous monitoring, continuous improvement, to constantly enhance those processes and watch if the measures we are taking based on the analysis are really taking place and really making the process better, or maybe we also miscalculated and then the process doesn't actually get better. So what values does process mining bring? Basically, it's very beneficial for efficiency. So it makes processes better based on efficiency. It can reduce costs. It can help to compliance and risk management, also in the auditing. It can help to assure that your company is compliant to what it says, and operational flexibility. So it can adapt very fast to market changes, because it can show you in real time, basically, what happened in the process. And actually, there are 2 parts. So first of all, you want to extract the data, which we talked about before. And mostly, you always have to prepare the data a little bit until you can really upload and then analyze it. So what I did was I created a video of my data preparation, because I think this is also very interesting to see, as this is like a difficult part in the beginning, or can be a difficult part to really do it. So I brought you a video of me preparing the data in the tool. So here you find the overview in Power Automate. And I think you all know this navigation panel at the side, and one of those is process mining. So if you click here and start a new process, then this view opens up, and here you can upload the data and transform it. So I recorded how I did it for you in this example. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, so this is why I prepared it. Here you can upload from your OneDrive the data you want to use. I used a CSV data file. You can also use Excel or whatever. I recommend you using OneDrive because you can upload or update your data there, and you don't have to upload it every time. And then you come to Power Query. Some of you might notice already. So here you can basically choose the columns you want to use and you want to look at. And as we've seen before, there are always those three attributes you want to look at. So the doc ID, the step title, and the timestamp. So I filtered down to that. And then I had to do some transformation. So I put out the blanks. And then, as you can see, I have different step titles because sometimes company have, let's say, different languages in their process workflows. And then if it's the same language, or if it's a different language but the same word, then it would be a double, right? So what I want to do is transfer all the German words I have in here to the English ones, so we don't have doubles in there. It's very easy if you know a little bit of Power Query. You only have to replace values up there, and then you put it down, and then it will just replace it, and it will make your data set even smaller, so it can better give you good results in the end. So I had to do this for all kinds of process steps, and now I'm done. You can always check that up here, because there you see how many you got. And one more I had, which was the cancellation in the end. Perfect. And once you have that done, you can check if there would be any others. And then you have all the step titles you need. Perfect. Now we only have English step titles, as we can see. And what we can do now is to remove duplicates, because you don't want, obviously, in case there would be any duplicates, you don't want to analyze them. So what you do is to remove them there in the rows. And then you're already done. You're finished with your data set, and you can go on next. And here it's very important to put the attribute to the attribute type. So it can be named differently in your data set and also here. So its event start will always be occurred at. The doc ID will always be the case ID, and the step title, the activity. In some cases, maybe your names will be different in the data sets you are having, but you always have to make sure you have those three attributes in order to analyze them. And what you will receive then, after a few seconds or maybe even minutes, depending on the data size, you will have your process map right here. So this is the overview you will get in Power Automate. It's basically a management summary where you can see the process map here on the left-hand side, and then some KPIs like the average case duration or the loop cases. You see the variance the process can have, the cases, and the activities a process can go through. This is already a very good overview where you can derive maybe your KPIs from. Also, I want to point out that also here Microsoft has implemented its Copilot. So you can even ask some questions here if you already want to know something about it. It can help you with this. What I suggest you to do is always to download the Process Mining app, because it gives you more insights than just this KPI dashboard, which is already very helpful. But let me show you the tool itself, because here you can do more. Here you can open all the processes. It's basically the same processes will be uploaded here, but here you can do more filtering and more analysis. Here you see all the cases. This is the process map. you will be seen. And you can already see here's the starting point, here's the end point. You see that most of the invoices we have in this case go directly into distribution. And there are only 24 invoices which go in the overdue notice. So in this case, in this example data, I took a case where they implemented in their workflow in a single step, which is for overdue notice, because they noticed in the first place that they have many overdues that they pay double. And this, they wanted to make sure that this has a different process path. This is why they have this interesting combination of overdue notice and then going back to distribution. Some of them obviously already are overdue and get already checked, so they can go directly to the end. This is why this has a different process path. But the majority of cases will go down straight here, so going through distribution to verification to the approval, and then to the counting, and then they're done. As you can see, also some of them will be cancelled and then go back to verification or go back to approval or go to the endpoint. This now here is the case count. So we see the frequency of invoices going through the process. What is super interesting to see is the mean duration, because we always, due to the timestamp, we always are able to see how many times or how many weeks, how many hours, how in what case of ever it takes each step. So here we see cancellation to verification as like kind of a big process step, or we call it edge because it's a big line that's very red. So here you can see this takes a long time. And if you click on it, you will find here the total count. So in this case, you see it's only coming down to 2 cases which are involved with this. So it took long, yes, but on the other hand, it really just applies for 2 cases. So in the end, maybe it's not so valuable looking further into this because it's really just 2 cases. The cancellation, on the other hand, took 2 weeks, 0.3. And this is a little bit more of cases. So this would be interesting maybe to have a further look in, as it gives you a good indicator, I guess, to further inspect this. Yeah, so this is something you can look at it, and you always see down here which attributes you're having. So this is again the doc ID. So you would see, okay, this is a document which goes through this process the way it is, and then you can further look into what happened there, why did it take so long, and it really gives you an indicator based on the data what happened. What you can further see here on the left side panel is the play animation, it's called, and here you can see at what time of the year how many invoices were in which process. I think this can be interesting if you can make some variations from this. So here at the beginning of the year, we see that the accounting had a lot to do. This can be due to an annual report they still had to do. So maybe they had really a lot of invoices. And if you have a closer look at this, you also see that right here, you have a lot of new cases, because the green is always the starting point and the red are always the end events. As you can see here, these are the starting events and these can be the end events. So something happened here, which we do not know exactly what it is, but we know it happened, that the accounting was very busy here in this period of time. So they got a lot of invoices here. Here you find another statistics. So you have the overall event count, you have the case count, the activities, resources if you have any located.
Julia, I see a question here on if you could possibly elaborate on what duplicates you've removed from the data beforehand.
Yeah, this was only when it was the same time, the same activity, and the same doc ID, meaning it can be only removed if it happened on the same time. So it was more or less a security measure to not analyze something which could be double in the data, but really there could be still double duplicates which happen on different timestamps. So I only try to make sure that we don't have like a copy paste error or something like this. It was more like a hygiene factor, but there can still be duplicates in there, just not at the same time, at the same case ID doing the same thing.
All right, thank you.
Answered? Perfect. Thank you. Are there more questions already, maybe?
No, but this one seemed very relevant to what we were saying just now. So I hope it's okay. Yes.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, you can make some great derivations from this already. And what I think is very interesting are the variants. So here you can see the different variants this process can have. And this is the number 1 variant, which covers already a third of the of all the processes, and it goes in this order, I guess. So this is interesting if you can see already. Okay, we have those top 5 variants which already cover a lot of our cases. But then if we go further down, we also see that we have a lot of variants, and there could only be one case which is let's say affected by this, but still there are very, very many different ways a process can go here. So I think this is also something you want to have a look into when there happened 14 events. Like what happened that there were so many times accounting, so many reworks involved that you have to go over and over and over again. So also here in the process map, you can have a look at this at the different variants, and here you can find it, and then you can have a look at this. What you can also do is go into the filters and then check, for example, a specific document. So if you, as I said before, if you want to have a further look at one specific document, then you can apply a filter like this, and then you would see the way it's going. So in this case, it took 1 day from distribution to the verification. Then it took another 13 hours to get approved. And then it took 21 hours to go to the accounting. Then there was some rework within the department before it was going to the end. And this way you can really go from a high-level view of looking at the KPIs, how much is my mean duration in all the cases, and what are my rework percentages, what are the variants I have, and to the very, very detailed view where you can look at specific documents and how they went through the process. So if you have an indicator on one document which took very, very long, then you want to have a look at what happened there, why it took so long, and is this happening a lot of times. You can also put a time frame here, so you can say maybe now we have the data for the first 3 months of a year, and you want to just check this period of time. Then you can apply this filter on the process map, and then you can also see how many cases we had in this time. Oh, sorry, I still have to apply it, and then you always have to double click. Now we got it. Perfect. So this would be like the first 3 months of the year, and as you can see, it's exactly 25%. So 25% of the cases over the year, and in the first 3 months we're going like this. So in case you want to look at this, or even on the mean duration of the cases, then you can compare this. Even you can save this as a filter, and then look maybe at the next one. You can say I wanna check just the April to the end of June, until July, and then you can see this result, which is interestingly also 26%. So what we see is that the invoices getting in are very even in the first quarter. So this is also something can be derived from this. And here you can do some AND filters, for example. If you just want to look at at process flows which are already done, then you can put some starting event here on a single case. Then you can say, okay, that my last events should be accounting or cancellation or overdue notice, for example. And then you apply this. And then you see all the cases within this filter. So making sure that you see only a specific attributes in a specific time frame. Yeah, do you have more questions? What I can show you maybe here within the demo?
I see here one that asks, what does loop mean? So the rework, is it a loop from one step to another, or what does it exactly mean?
Yes, great question. So there's the self loop, which means that an activity gets repeated. So the document goes through a specific activity twice. Then you have the loop itself, which can mean that it goes back to the activity. For example, you go to the distribution and then you go all the way to cancellation, but then it goes back to distribution. This would be a loop. A self loop would be within the process step. And this both together is the rework, because both of them is considered as rework by explanation or by definition. And this is then the sum of both attributes.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions in the chat.
Perfect. If you have maybe later on questions, I'm happy to show you the data prep. If you have more questions, how to put it in there, how to monitor it with Power Query. Once you have it in here, as I said, this is only the discovery phase where you see the process as it is. And then you want to analyze it and make some measures from this. And if you have the to-be process next to it, you can do the second step, which is the conformance checking. So there are very, very many opportunities you can go, very many things you can analyze. As you can see, you have a lot of data. And I think this is an interesting tool to, analyze the process with.
So I'm definitely curious as to the data prep and also how you can monitor with Power Query. And I also see somebody typing in the chat, but now I would be curious to see more about this. There is a question from Satya who says, could you share experience with healthcare or clinical or non-clinical processes?
Actually, to be honest, so far we were just in my company, we just looked at typical business processes, let's say, like in the invoices or in the purchasing department, where you can where we have the data already. I didn't have any health companies so far to see their processes, but in the end, it depends a little bit on the process. Is there any specific process within the health industry you want to look at?
So I see it's in the chat here. What I can see is hospital clinical data or non-clinical processes, but I can see that Satya is writing something more, so I'm just waiting one moment.
Perfect.
Sorry.
So we just received an answer.
Yes.
Specific X-stroke protocol. I don't have any experience with this so far. Happy to find out more about this, but so far I haven't worked with this, no.
All right. If you have time, if you want to show more about the data processing and Power Query, I would be interested, but I don't know about everybody else, and if you have time.
I do have time. It was the video I already recorded, so I can show it more into like with more time if you really want to look at it, how each step was. Because once you upload it, maybe let me do this. Because sometimes it takes a while until the whole data is up there. This is why I took, sorry. This is why I took a video of it, how I recorded it. But what you can do is here, go into the details, and then you can go here into the setup, transform data in Power Query, and then you can manage it. So first, you get all the data in here, right? It's very unstructured. You have like all kinds of data in here. Then first thing you want to do is to promote the header, like the first line to the header, because this is something which often happens, that this will be in the first line, on the first row, sorry. And so you will put it in the header. Then you will have some changes, so it's like connected to the attributes. It should be. And then what I did, recorded on a video, was that I excluded all the columns we do not want to analyze, because there were more. But in this case, only those 3 were important to us. Of course, there can be more data, which is interesting, but for this specific example, I just used the timestamp, the doc ID, and the subtitle. Then I put on a filter. So basically, I removed all the blanks. And then I did all the replacements. So it's very common that you have, at least if it's not an English-speaking country, then you would have like your language, but also the English names. So you would have to replace all the step titles. You might remember it's here, and then replace value, and then you just put in. This would be now like an inserted step, so I'm not doing it. But basically, you can just put in here, and then you put the value you want to find and how to replace it with. And then in the end, you remove the duplicates. At least I was doing it this way because I wanted to make sure that we don't have any copy paste mistakes, let's say. So I remove them, and this is how you then can analyze the process data. Was that interesting, Emily? Also maybe for you and Hempel?
It was. It's very clear. I mean, now it would be clearer for me how to take the data and go into Power BI or Fabric and use Power Query and clean it, or use the process mining tool here in Power Automate. So this is very familiar tool, and steps for many people who work with data engineering. So I think that's very, very good. And I'm not sure about the question I see here in the chat. I see maybe something regarding log files for a standard format for ERP systems, and then track activities by timestamp. But I think this might be just good advice in the chat. Other than that, I don't have any more. Once again, thank you so much for doing your wonderful presentation, Julia.
Welcome.
So if there's no more questions out there, I see clapping hands from several. Then I'm going to say thank you once again. And I see several rounds of applause in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any more questions, I'm very available on LinkedIn if you have more room you want to talk.
Yes, please, all of you follow Julia. I highly recommend it on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful Sunday, and thank you all of you for joining us. Thank you, Julia, for the wonderful presentation.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.